And first at 5, a victory for the San Antonio Spurs in city council chambers, just blocks away from what could be their new home. The Spurs and city staff funding plan for a new $1.3 billion arena given the green light over Mayor Gina Ortiz-Jones's furious attempt to put that plan in timeout. We have team coverage at the KSAT from the KSAT team down at city councils and of the team victory. Garrett Berger, RJ Marquez watched what was at times a lively and loud debate over the portion of the so-called Project Marvel. Garrett, let's start with you. Walk us through how this whole thing unfolded this afternoon.
Well, in a word, it would be slowly. Now, the supporters say this is a good deal and that it's time to pass it. But we also heard a lot of critics today who think that they're worried about spending public dollars and are also questioning the little bit of time that this information has been public. The term sheet that was only posted onto the city website on Monday. Now, there was a parade of speakers from both sides today: business leaders, community groups, regular residents, plus Spurs officials. So the mayor proposed not considering any of the terms until a new independent economic study could be done and multiple community meetings could be held. But no council members besides her discussed it before shooting it down in a 4-7 vote. Council comments on the proposed terms took a little bit longer, about an hour and a half, before they approved them 7-4, along the same split in council members. Now, while some council members thought approval was an obvious choice, others, including the East Side interim councilman who represents the Spurs' current home, think less of it.
We've done this speech 3 times. We can agree to disagree. You either trust this team sitting in front of me with the city of San Antonio, you trust the Spurs, or you don't. I trust the Spurs.
Residents also are understandably concerned that we are taking on new promises from the Spurs.
So what's in the terms? The city and county sheriffs of funding are capped at $489 million and $311 million, respectively, with the Spurs covering at least $500 million of the arena's costs, plus any overages. Now, the team would also pay rent on the arena and guarantee nearby development, which would help fund the city's share through taxes and lease payments. Now, the terms are non-binding, but they will form the framework of how the contracts will actually be written. And the deal depends on the results of a public vote on the county share of funding coming up in November. But we also heard that the mayor suggest that it's possible that she could put out a vote on the city's portion, trying to call a bond election. She probably need the rest of the city council to sign off on that, though, and she just had a fight with them, so it's anybody's guess on how that might go, but she does say that she wants to try that.
Yeah, Garrett, and you know what, and talking from the Spurs angle of all this, obviously the Spurs came out in full force today into council chambers. This was a big deal for them, obviously, as they continue to try and get these arena plans pushed ahead. Their contingent included, obviously, Chairman Peter J. Holt, General Manager Brian Wright, CEO R.C. Buford, a host of Spurs employees, just a large contingent of officials as well. But as we saw off the top here, things did get a little heated when Mayor Jones asked Peter J. Holt directly to come up to the podium a little bit out of sort of the rules of order and asked if he felt a pause to evaluate a new independent economic evaluation would be a good idea. And he basically stuck to his belief, his talking points, that this is a good investment for the city and the Spurs. And we also heard from Spurs legend Sean Elliott giving a bit of a passionate speech about the importance of getting this deal done. Let's hear from both those.
I think there's tremendous data that exists. I think there's also a tremendous opportunity that we have between now and the election to create an awareness campaign.
It's more than just a new arena. It's an investment in our city's future. It will help San Antonio step out of the shadows of other Texas cities and assume its rightful place as the #1 city in Texas.
Yeah, guys, so Sean Elliott, as we saw here, Garrett spoke for about 4 minutes, basically taking up all the Spurs time and part of the public speaking comments. But I have to say, just from my general perspective, not covering this every day, I was a little surprised at the amount of people that spoke against these plans for the Spurs arena. So I think there's a lot of work to be done. And we're going to hear from Peter J. Holt directly coming up at 6 o'clock.
All right, back to you guys in the studio. We'll see you at 6. Live outside City Hall, Garrett Berger, RJ Marquez.
Garrett, RJ, thank you very much for that team coverage. Appreciate it, guys. All right, let's check out Traffic Authority right now. Let's go to I-35 in Martin near downtown. Traffic is heavy, and you can see some construction actually taking place along this stretch of I-35. It's been there for a while. But traffic actually, despite a couple of lanes closed down, moving very smoothly.
It's actually moving nicely with just 2 lanes.
You don't usually see that right there. But okay, some places actually got some good rain today.
There was a lot of good rain out there, even some localized flash flooding from earlier today. We'll get to the rainfall totals and the haves and have-nots in a bit. Right now, I want to focus on where we still have the shower activity, and that's roughly from Seguin, just north of Nixon Smiley, all the way down toward Cuero. This is the heaviest of the rain, even a little bit of lightning and thunder within some of that activity, especially around Cuero. This is throwing out an outflow boundary that's giving you a cooler breeze of air that's already moving through San Antonio as well. And outflow boundaries have really kept our temperatures down today. A high temperature so far of about 90 degrees this afternoon. So you look at the last hour, and this is the last hurrah of the action that we have out there. For one reason, we have the outflow boundary pushing through, and that stabilizes the atmosphere everywhere that it leaves in its wake. Not only that, we're losing our daytime heating, and as we lose the sunshine and the sun sets, then we don't have the energy for the rain anymore. Just within this view, here's a look at where we got the rain today. Even higher amounts off to the west. Remember, yellow on this map indicates at least 2 inches of rain. We'll take a closer look at the haves and have-nots in just a bit.
All right, thank you, Adam. New at 5, never before seen emails regarding the tragedy at Uvalde's Robb Elementary show that safety issues were questioned months before that shooting and that work was being done on a settlement for then Chief Pete Arredondo. CNN reporting it has viewed these unreleased records. It says one email shows then Principal Mandy Gutierrez warned months before that shooting that classroom doors could not be locked and that she asked for extra keys for substitutes so they could lock some of the school doors. Other records observed by CNN show conversations between Arredondo's attorney and an attorney for the school board discussing a possible buyout for the chief. Arredondo charged with 10 counts of abandoning, endangering a child. An attorney for KSAT and other media outlets sending a letter to the Uvalde Consolidated School District asking for these unreleased records that CNN has seen. In a statement, a district spokesperson, Anne Marie Espinoza, said the district is looking into the issues raised. Will supplement with any responsive information. Those are their words. $40 million. That's how much the Community Foundation of Texas Hill Country pledging today for Hill Country flood survivors. Our Courtney Friedman was actually at that news conference where the governor also attended. She joins us live from Kerrville. Courtney, we've actually learned, correct me if I'm wrong, that this money will basically go towards housing. Is that correct?
Yeah, Steve, that's exactly right. All of it, $40 million directly to housing. Housing is one of 4 pillars of the Community Foundation's long-term recovery plan, and it is priority number 1. And that fact was echoed from 6 different people at the press conference here at the Pavilion at Louise Hayes Park just a few hours ago. And one of the people who echoed that was the governor himself. Governor Greg Abbott did show up, and even though he was there to praise the importance of all of this funding, and we want to be clear, though, that the $40 million pledged today was directly from the Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country, which is all donations, large and small, from the public. The state has funded efforts in other ways. As we know, more than 100 people were killed here in Kerr County alone, and so many people lost their homes. So we got to ask the CEO of the Community Foundation what the priorities are within this new large housing pledge.
today we made a grant of $1.6 million to Airbnb, which will house up to 60 families for a maximum of up to a year in local Airbnbs. And that's just the first step. We've also authorized $375,000 in additional temporary rent assistance for families who've already secured temporary rent as a flood victim in our community.
Now, getting people in temporary housing is a first step, and then they plan to launch a repair and rebuild program in the coming weeks. Now, coming up at 6, there are also some local builders who are working hard as we speak, who are also getting that funding, and we're going to be going over what they will be doing with that money. But for now, we're live in Kerrville. Courtney Friedman, KSAT 12 News.
Thank you, Courtney. A former San Antonio police lieutenant who was fired last year has now been charged with tampering with government records. It stems from an internal affairs investigation that determined he altered discipline records in the Melissa Pettis shooting case from 2023. Pettis was experiencing a mental health crisis, had a hammer in her hand when police shot her through a patio window and door. According to court records obtained by KSAT Investigates, Velasquez allegedly removed his name from records about that night and made unauthorized changes to documents. The former lieutenant suspended after investigation showed he left his shift early and didn't respond to the scene. He turned himself in yesterday, but was released on a $7,500 bond this morning. As for Pettis' case, the 3 officers tied to that shooting face murder and assault charges. The trial is set to begin in October. A big showdown in Texas today. New congressional maps could reshape power in Congress, but Democrats say it's rigged. Will the Senate approve the maps or stall the GOP's plan? The latest coming up after the break. Right now, let's take a look outside with live cam. And yes, there were some good showers around the viewing area. Was that it? What about chances in the coming days? Adam Caskey has your forecast. Today, those controversial new congressional maps in Texas facing their final hurdle before they go to the governor's desk. The Texas State Senate is set to vote on the bill that redraws district lines in a way intended to help Republicans pick up more seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. Congressional maps usually redrawn once a decade to reflect changes in population from the latest census. But President Donald Trump asked Texas to take this up now ahead of next year's midterm elections. Democratic lawmakers fled the state for 2 weeks to delay the bill. Republican colleagues pushing back on allegations that the maps were drawn illegally or undemocratically.
You own the walkout. You said you did that. But don't come into this body and say we didn't include you. You left us for 18 days, and that's wrong.
The Texas battle has sparked redistricting conversations in several states nationwide. For instance, California proposing new maps of their own meant to offset the number of seats that Texas Republicans are trying to gain. School vouchers have been in the news a lot. That's after Governor Greg Abbott signed legislation in May authorizing taxpayer dollars to fund private school education. However, parents still have a lot of questions about how that program will work. Heidi Santos spoke to School Discovery Network. They're offering counseling on school vouchers.
We want to know how much money is it, and it's going to be roughly $10,000 per year per student to pay tuition or other expenses at an accredited private school. Money is the big question. The other question is my child eligible? So if a child is in K through 12 and they're a citizen or U.S. resident, and you can prove residency, like you have a utility bill or a lease, you're a Texas resident, those students are eligible. And there are lots of questions about timeline, which we can't really answer yet. But the idea is that a year from now, there will be students going to private schools with their tuition paid for by the state.
If you have questions about school vouchers, there's a town hall meeting happening tonight from 6 to 7 at the Vineyard Christian School on Huebner Road. Information will also be available in Spanish. Head to KSAT.com for more information. All right, we're in a rare rainy spot here in South Texas for August. Will it continue, Adam?
Not so much. We have another opportunity tomorrow, but I think today was the most widespread. And speaking of coverage and widespread, I mean, obviously there are going to be places that miss out, including Uvalde, Eagle Pass, and a good chunk of San Antonio. But really, really efficient rainfall in parts of the hill country. You get into southeastern Real County, and check this out. Right there, 2.9 inches. Utopia picked up about 3.1 inches of rain. And everywhere you see a color on the screen other than that gray background here, that's where we had rain. And let's take a look at the local radar closer to San Antonio. 12-hour rainfall accumulations. Notice Comal County and a chunk of Bexar County missed out today. Unfortunately, you know, it's luck of the draw. These outflow boundaries that come out of these thunderstorms, you never know where they're going to go until they actually happen. And we had an outflow boundary move through, which stabilized our atmosphere a little earlier than we had hoped for. But this is why we say 60% and not 100%. 100% would be everybody got rain. Let's especially go down into Wilson County along 181 between Elmendorf and Floresville. And take a look at this near the city of Calaveras, 3.8 inches of rain. And even down near Lemming in Atascosa County, 2.2 inches. So some healthy accumulations in some spots. Real quick look at the radar right now. There's nothing farther to the west. All the activity right now is east of 281 and especially around I-10 and southward down toward Cuero. This is all slowly coming to an end. This is the last hurrah that we'll have out there this afternoon and evening. And again, once the sun sets, everything comes to an end. But we do have another stabilizing outflow boundary right here. Nice cool breeze that's moving through San Antonio, Stockdale, Floresville, even up into Bernie and Comfort, feeling that as well. Now, since we're talking about rainfall accumulations, I do want to point out the newest drought monitor is in. This is updated today. Some improvements in Medina County. More importantly, I outlined the areas of severe, extreme, and exceptional drought. The three worst categories I outlined in white here. Now let's overlay the rainfall from the past few days that is not included, not taken into account in this drought monitor. And you see that on the order of anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of rain not taken into account in parts of northwest Medina County and other parts of the hill country and off to the west. That's because the data cutoff is Tuesday at 7 a.m. and we've had rain since then. So here's the setup that we have right now. The upper level heat high still over the Four Corners region. That's slowly going to work its way in. We still have a slight chance of rain as we get into the upcoming weekend, but I really think it's going to be highly isolated and mainly on Saturday. Tomorrow, quiet start, quiet midday. We get into the afternoon, the typical time frame for some showers and storms, and it's going to be widely separated in nature. And as we always say, don't pay close attention to the location. These could be popping up anywhere on the map. I think it's just a good visual representation of general coverage tomorrow. 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. and then come sunset, that's when that activity's done. Temperatures right now in the 80s in spots because of the rain. Leon Springs 87, 86 Santa Maria, and even 73 as you get into Seguin because of the rain that's been moving through. So tomorrow, the 40% chance, that's for the afternoon, generally 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., 75 in the morning, 87 at noon, 95 by tomorrow afternoon, and actually a northerly breeze at 5 to 10 miles per hour. And looking ahead this weekend, a 10 to 20% chance in the afternoon, Saturday, Sunday, upper 90s, then dry Monday, Tuesday, with only minimal rain chances next week, Steve.
All right. Let's hope we get some rain tomorrow. Thank you, Adam. All right, are you ready for some football? The Word style, Larry?
Absolutely ready for some college football. And the Word is also ready to play some college football at Nichols on Saturday. The Cardinals held a walkthrough today. We caught up with them to get their thoughts. And UIW's Tyler Morton is going to face his former team. We got it coming up.
I'm very excited that we get to showcase our talents on ESPN because I'm sure, a lot of guys are ready for the stage. So, yeah, we're very excited.
Trevion Newsome and the Cardinals are ready to play some football in big board sports. UIW is less than 48 hours away from kicking off their football season at Nichols on ESPN2. The Cardinals had a walkthrough this morning at Gale and Tom Benson Stadium as they put on the final touches before facing the Colonels. This will be the first college football game on American soil in the 2025 season and is the first ever Southland Conference contest to be featured on a national television network. We talked with the Cards late this morning to get their thoughts on the excitement of playing this Saturday.
Yeah, just anxious. You try to calm the mind. You don't want to overthink things. This is kind of that 48-hour window when you start to, your brain starts to wander and overthink things. But we're prepared. Our players are prepared. Our coaches are prepared. We got good game plans. You just got to go out there and shoot your shot.
Yeah, it's a lot of excitement. All the things, the work we put into, we ready to showcase what we can do. No sleep at all. Because we got them first game. The first game jitters. We're ready to go. We just prepared. We're ready to go.
Redshirt senior Tyler Morton is ready to face his former team. Morton played for Nichols the previous 4 seasons before joining the Word, and the DB says it's just another game.
I mean, it's pretty cool, but I mean, like I said, it's just any other game. It's not that big a deal. I'm ready just to play with this team and get things started. So just treat it like any other game. It's not any bigger than it will be in week 8. It's just a school I have ties with, I came from, so I mean it's not any different than any other game. It's a Southland Conference game.
And that Southland Conference game between Incarnate Word and Nichols in Thibodaux, Louisiana goes down this Saturday at 12 noon on ESPN2.
It was a lot for a young freshman like me, especially coming in injured, to even try to get a role to play. And so once the coaches got fired, it was kind of like, damn, I got to make a decision. I got to see what I'm going to do. And so once I put my name in the portal and UIW came calling, I kind of felt like that love.
He felt the love, and Richie Torres as QB1 for Incarnate Word. Tonight at 7 on KSAT Sports Now, we will air part 2 of our conversation with the Southside great. He talks about leaving Nebraska for the Word in the lowest part of his football career and much more, Steve.
Been through a lot.
He certainly has.
Yeah, but a talented kid. All right. Thanks, Larry. We'll be right back.
Repairing fences, adding more lighting, those are the small changes San Antonio police say have helped them reduce crime in one neighborhood. We're going to tell you what neighborhood that is and what the people who live there are saying.
All right, I'm ready for football. Are you? It's almost time for the 2025 KSAT Pigskin Classic, Thursday, August 28th. 1 week from today at Ferris Stadium, Sotomayor will face Clark for the first game of the season. The game will be broadcast live on KSAT 12, streamed live on KSAT Plus, the Big Game coverage app, and KSAT.com. We'll have coverage throughout the week leading up to kickoff. Adam.
And I'll be launching T-shirts out of that canyon.
A newly updated.
Yeah, watch at 6:45. You'll see what we're talking about. Oh, yeah. Look at it. 70s and 80s because of the outflow boundary that's moving through. And even one little shower tried to pop up here near China Grove. But you see how all this activity is coming to an end compared to the drought monitor. And